Hey, welcome back. Vega here for SerpentX Tech, and we're continuing on working on this RTX 3080 with an EVGA hybrid cooler attached to it. And I took off the screws for the back plate. Some of the screws came in a kit, and I see a couple problems. First one is that screw is kind of rusty, and that looks like water damage to me. You see that green texture? That kind of looks like moisture of some type. Not sure where this card was kept, but we definitely want to clean that up. And then the back plate thermal pads look like we got layered thermal pads. Like maybe they didn't have something thick enough. So they have two types, maybe 1.5 mil and then 1 mil on top of it. For some of them, I guess they might have ran out of pads. We need to replace all of those for the back side of the GPU. And when I took off the back plate, you know, some of the screws I have lined up on my Gamers Nexus mod mat, even though I don't have the GPU diagram with all my clutter. But 3 screws on the right, 1, 2, 3. And then we have 2, one where the label is and one by the BIOS switch, and then we have 2 more at the ends, and we're missing one there and one there. But when you get the back plate off, you see probably in the instructions, which I haven't really investigated for installing the hybrid cooler, is we got a couple of these same screws to kind of hold the shroud on to the actual PCB. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that should allow us to gain access to the front side of the PCB, where we can inspect and see why this pump is not getting power. So let's go ahead and take those off now, and definitely want to investigate and see why this rusted, because if that pump is bad and was leaking somewhere, that shouldn't be the only one that's rusted or showing this type of moisture damage. If anything, it could be from the humidity, because we are in Florida. It could be from the humidity that caused it, not so much the pump. And if that's the case, then that's a good thing. We just need to clean it up. So let me take these screws out, and you can see these are a lot shorter compared, so you don't want to mix them up. But I do want to notate where they are on the GPU, because there should be some connections over here on the left, so I want to be careful. I'm going to use 2 hands, put the phone down. We have everything all taken apart. Before we talk about the PCB, let's talk about the GPU shroud itself, or the front side. This is the front side of the PCB. You could see that this right here, I think it's just humidity, outside conditions, because that is rust. Maybe I might take everything out, remove all the wires, and because that's metal, try to Rust-Oleum paint it or something like that, just to protect it. I did take off the bracket that holds the hoses, the 2 hoses, and then the cable coming off the pump assembly, this cable right here, which is where you would sync both your fans. The outside fan, or the VRM fan, was working as intended. That was connected via the brown connector, which are down here. The pump was connected to the black connector, which the fans wouldn't come on with the splitter, nor with the pump, so maybe that connector's bad. We still have another one, a blue connector, that we can utilize. And then the other connector is just the RGB, because the top side of this GPU shroud, it has a little RGB. Here's the connector. I'm going to go through and check everything, but definitely need to replace the memory pads on the back side, as they're 2 different sizes smushed together. Make sure that we get the right size for everything on the back side. Need to take off this copper plate, but I didn't see anything that stuck out to me on the PCB that would be like moisture damage or anything like that. So I think it was just humidity, because it was all on the outer edges of the GPU shroud, or GPU itself. So on the back side of the GPU, you could see it started, you know, that one's actually pretty bad, but it started to happen to all of them. So maybe just out in the garage, outside moisture, and then on the front side here, where the airflow was being pushed in towards the VRM, but nothing internally looks bad whatsoever on the front or back. need to replace the thermal pads underneath this copper plate. That's just got to be elegantly or very carefully pried off. I'll do that with 2 hands, put the camera down. And before I do anything, before I put any of this together, what I would like to do is to get this pump hooked up. What I don't like though is this giant copper heatsink that EVGA is using. Only look at the surface area, right? The surface area that's actually touching the cold plate is not much on every edge of the pump. I think that could have been a little bit better design. We could also access the cold plate if we remove these inner silver screws. The outer screws are just to hold this bracket on. That's what makes it you know, the right size to interface with the GPU core so you can mount everything. But we're not going to do all that. I heard there was water in the radiator. Everything sounds good. We just need to confirm that the pump is working. And the best way we can do that is to get this pump mounted without the GPU shroud, and then make sure that this cable is plugged in to a port that we know works, which is the brown one. But we can also, you know, either move the black to brown and then the brown to blue, or vice versa. So let's get that done, put it on the test bench and see if we can power up. All right, so we're actually powered up, and I didn't connect the side fans because I wanted to see if I could hear the pump, but I didn't hear anything. I think even though we're connected to a confirmed working fan port, that brown one, I think the pump is just not working, to be completely honest with you. I'd seen a lot of RMAs of these particular hydro coolers, but we're gonna open up hardware info and see if it even detects an RPM. So previous video, we showed the RPM for the external fan. Yeah, if it's restarting, that means it's not cooling. Nope, it's just detecting drivers. Okay, good. All right, but it's not picking up anything just yet. Let's redo hardware info. And if anything, we can plug in the splitter to confirm we're getting power, because if these fans spin, we're good to go. But it doesn't matter because I need to be able to hear that pump. It shouldn't be annoyingly loud, but we should at least hear it a little bit. And I definitely can't. So, yeah, see, the pump is not being detected. I am not hearing anything whatsoever. Let's try plugging in these fans to see if we're even getting power, because if we're not getting power, even though we're connected to a connector on the board, if we're not getting power through that wire to that pump, that's not going to send power to the splitter, therefore turning on these fans. And I think this pump is just done. It needs to be RMA'd or replaced. Yep, and that is going to be the end of this episode. So splitter plugged in, fans are not kicking on because the pump is not getting power, even though it's connected to a power header and should be. Confirmed working with other fans, no problem. But the pump is just not kicking on, therefore sending a signal for these fans to kick on, and we're not hearing it at all. So this is an RMA pump, if I even want to go that route. Otherwise, we're just going to put the stock cooler back on for the Win 3 Ultra. Just sucks that that pump is done. I don't think the rust or anything caused the issues. That's just outside rush. But yeah, look, we're already up to 83, 93. Yeah, the GPU core is hot. I didn't put fresh thermal paste on it, but it doesn't matter because the pump is not even working. So let's shut this bad boy down, and we're gonna call it there. We probably just need to put the stock cooler on, and we'll probably do that in a different video, and then I'll see if I can get an RMA or a replacement for this particular hydro unit, which I can use the serial on there to do so. But we know that EVGA isn't making GPUs anymore, so we'll see how that turns out. But thank you so much for hanging out with me as I troubleshooted this particular GPU. I was hoping to get it up and working, but we just verified that the pump is not getting power for whatever reason. Something internal is wrong. Maybe we could tear it down, take a look at it in a different video. Otherwise, I'm just going to RMA it and see if I can't get a replacement unit. So hit the like button on the way out. Make sure to get subscribed. Hit the notification bell to stay up to date, as well as check out some of the links in the description to help support the channel and what we do here. And if you made it this far, you know, leave me a nice little comment down below. Have you had any issues with these hydro coolers from EVGA? Has the pump died on you? Because I read a lot of that on the forums. But yeah, good card. Just needs to either have the stock cooler put back on or a better water cooling system. See you guys.